All right, welcome to the Innermetrix profile review and CG webinar. Today we're going to be looking, my goal really today is to help you understand this tool. You took the profile online and it spit out 71 pages of analysis on you, how you think, how you behave, what motivates you, and we want to make sure that you get a full understanding, at least how to use the tool, so that you can do the work. That it's a really nicely laid out piece. It has spaces for you to respond to questions, give thought and consideration to some of the findings and so forth. But I want to just make sure to cover it, that you understand it, because I believe, and this is what we work with character genetics, that self-awareness and authenticity are the two learned skills that set genius level leaders or elite level leaders apart from others who are less effective in their leadership. And understanding who I am is going to really give me some opportunities to be decisive around whether or not that's working or not in my current roles and functions. And then that just amplifies the more that I understand those around me. We're able to communicate and understand why we might do what we do and so forth. So we're gonna jump in. I want to pull up here a PowerPoint so we can take a look at this. If you pull out your results there, pull it up. You can also follow along here in a minute. But here's the genesis, the reason why this tool was developed. The question was asked, and this is back in the year 2000, so it's 15 years ago, but the data is still like smack on, and it's been developed and used around the world by our military, by numerous corporations and companies and nonprofits, and it's a great tool. But here's the question they ask: why do some people consistently achieve much greater success with less effort, while others who work just as hard and are just as intelligent and even work in the same environment achieve much less? That's a really good question. Why is it, given the same parameters, same raw material, so to speak, why is it that some people can ultra succeed at a genius or elite level and others don't? And so this study was commissioned, 75 PhDs, 900 management consultants in the field, and this is huge. Over 197,000 employees in 23 countries. So this is not your 1,100 person random sampling to get a poll. This is a very extensive research project, and it really has gone far beyond that, because the results and tweaks have been made over the last 15 years with multiple hundreds of thousands of people who have taken the exam. So it's actually even bigger than that. 80 natural talents were measured, and talents related, and they basically ranked people in these 5 areas: business performance measures, below average, average, above average, excellent, and what they call genius level. And then to take the data and then actually make something useful out of it. Here's some of the people that were involved in that process. You might recognize some of the names in there: Anthony Robbins, Dan Lyons, Francis Hesselbein. You look at Chief Marketing Officer and President of Pepsi, the former. There's some people here that have their chops in leadership who try to take the data and then make it useful. And here's what they discovered. The findings of the research: that no statistically significant correlations existed between performance and natural talents. I'm stunned by that at first reading. I'm like, really? All roles, all industries, all levels. This is what it came up: 2 acquired talents, 2 acquired skills, self-awareness and authenticity, are the things that stood out for those genius level leaders. Anyone can achieve that 5th level of performance, but it requires a concrete working self-awareness and authenticity. And I often like to look at authenticity this way just to get an idea, make sure everybody, see if I can do this, I hope, get an understanding of what I'm talking about when I talk about authenticity. You know, we have these areas of, whoops, let me see here. We have these areas of our actions, what we do, our words, what we say, and our beliefs, what we believe. And it's where those three realms of us intersect, where they're congruent, where what I say is what I believe, and it is what I act. That is my measure of authenticity or integrity. And the work of self-awareness and authenticity and growing that is really bringing these realms of us more and more together, so they're more and more concentric, which enlarges a bigger and bigger area of authenticity where I'm really integrated more fully. My actions, my beliefs, and my words. And what's so interesting is you may notice that a lot of this belief circle is apart from actions and words, and there's a lot of this that we work on. It's in our subconscious. Neuroscience says 90% of our decisions we make and our programming, our thinking is down there below our awareness. And so there's a lot to become aware of so that we can begin to act differently and speak differently and bring these realms of our being into integrity and authenticity. So that's the study and what it brought out. And so I think this is a very, very valuable tool. And I'm wondering, can I get permission from one of you to use your profile here as our example, as our teacher in the moment, so I can explain the different parts of the tool? Is that all right? Okay, guys, thank you. Let's go over here. I'll start with you, Don. We'll pull that up. And there we go. Don, this looks somewhat familiar. Okay, so there's 3 parts to this tool, and they all add a very important dimension to understanding ourselves and then being able to make adjustments and grow in authenticity as we become more and more aware. The first part of the test was the DISC test, and you've probably seen or used this at some point. It's been around for a number of years. I really like this DISC test in this tool, this Innermetrix tool, because it's very true to the original intent of the tool. A lot of times people take tools, they tweak them, they move them, they make them do all sorts of gymnastics to do different things they want them to do, and I don't think that's always the most effective. And this one is really true to measuring and relating what the original intent of the tool was, and I think that's valuable. And what it's able to track as you were dragging and sliding those different statements and values and so forth, is able to track your behavior, how you prefer to show up and behave. Okay, the DISC measures the how you behave. And there's 4 main areas that it picks up on. The D is decisiveness, or how you prefer to approach problems. Okay, that's what it measures. How you prefer to approach problems and how decisive you are. Okay, the higher the number, the more aggressive, the more decisive that you are. Okay, and especially there's a natural style, and down in the bottom right is the adaptive style. And what that means is natural style is when you're able to just show up completely as you, authentically, like you don't have any performance expectations from everybody else. You're natural. You let your hair down if you have hair. You're just you. There's peace. There's that sweet spot. There's like no extra drain or stress. When you're in your natural style, you're just in the zone, in your zone, so to speak. Adaptive style is how you feel like you're supposed to be showing up in your current role, current responsibilities to get the job done. So it's Natural is like almost any time, any space, how you are. Adaptive is in this moment, and this is a snapshot in time. That's important. This assessment happened at a point in time. It was a snapshot, this moment. So adaptive can actually change depending on external stimuli and responsibilities and roles and jobs. If you're in transition or if you're, whatever, it is reflective of the right now. Excuse me, what you feel like is important for you. So the way that this reads is, my natural style is, and for your case, Don, an 81D, and currently, at the time of this test, I'm adapting down 11 points in how I prefer to make decisions and be decisive around problems. Okay, we'll talk a little bit later about what these numbers mean and what the gaps mean, because it's very important. One of the most important things of this whole test is that difference in numbers and what that's showing. Okay, so that's the D. All right, that's problems, decisiveness, how you prefer. The I measures your interactive preferences, specifically around people. Okay, how you prefer to behave and interact when it comes to people. The higher the I, Don, you're as high as this test will allow you to go, by the way. 99, that's as high as it'll go. It goes as low as 10. 10's as low as you can go. And it demonstrates your preference. Don, by this, it's very clear that you have a very interactive personality with people. And that's your natural style. You're going to gravitate toward people. And another really good slide to flip back and forth with, and I'll do it quick here for you to see, is slide number 9. These are really nice adjectives that describe, looks like some of the text is kind of jumbled, but on your papers it's not. It describes, with some adjectives here, what it looks like when you're high or low in any of these 4 categories. So Don, you were, the D, you'd look right in that zone where you were here. In the I, you're high, so that means you're going to look at the top 2 or 3 primarily: gregarious, persuasive, inspiring, enthusiastic. Those are other words that are going to be pretty accurate in describing how you behave, how you show up. Now, likewise, when you're adapting down, you would, if aloof down here is 10, again, that's the lowest, and gregarious is 99, you find yourself in here somewhere where you're adapting, and you can see maybe some different descriptors of how you might be showing up with that. Okay, so keep that page 9 handy. That's a good little quick reference. Yeah, so and in this case, Don, you're adapting down from a 99 to a 67, so you're adapting down, what is that, 33 points. Okay, that's important. We're going to come back to it. The S measures pace, your preference in terms of how fast and how much you prefer life to come after you, or you to get after it, either way you want to look at it. And this one is a little counterintuitive in the number, so it's important you understand. A high number here in the S is showing that you prefer a slower pace. A low S means you are preferring, or you're feeling like you need to show up with a very fast pace. So it's a little different. Usually high numbers mean fast, low numbers mean slow. It's different here. High S is slow, thoughtful, methodical, thorough, that sort of thing. And a low S is, fast, get it done, move along, a lot going on, choose and move, get things done, that kind of a thing. Okay, and look at that, Don. This is really big here for you. 88 adapting down to a 17. Okay, now what is that? 61, I think it is, if I'm doing it right. That's something we're going to look at here in a moment. I want to get through here though first. So, and C is cautious, or really how you prefer to deal with procedures. So it's problems, people, pace and procedures. So at a 10, that's as low as you can go, and that means you proceed. What procedures? I'll make them up as I go. I'll figure it out. I'm not all that concerned on exactly how it has to be. But I'm just gonna, get after it. The C, you're adapting up 18, which is good, by the way. Whenever we're at an extreme, either a 99 or a 10, have you ever heard this? Any strength to an extreme is a weakness. That's true here as well. So any area of great strength can become an area of weakness, and really for those around you and your own good, it's good to adapt off of the fringes of the maxed out at either end. So it is important actually to adapt down if you're at a 99, or adapt up if you're at a 10. That's actually showing something very healthy going on. Okay. Let me just make some comments now about that gap that I've mentioned, because this is an important part of the tool. By the way, if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in, because I'm just downloading a lot of information. My goal is that I'll give you a lot of information, and I'll leave 10 to 15 minutes or so at the end of our time where you can ask questions. So I prefer that you hold them, but if you've got them at any time or they're urgent, go ahead and type them in, and I'll get after it. Okay. So here's what the adapting means. The way that this tool is designed, it picks up what you feel like is required of you in your current role or responsibility, and it just is set up this way. It's like a big rubber band. The higher the number of it between natural and adaptive, it's just like pulling an internal band of tension, and when it gets to 10, you actually feel it. All of a sudden you're like, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you almost can't even really tell. It's like a rubber band really loose, you can just kind of, basically it's just not really, doesn't affect a whole lot. But once it gets to 10, it's like that rubber band all of a sudden is now tight enough that you can feel there's tension, and it's, whoa, I'm stretching this, okay? And then it's not just 11, 12, 13. It's like the Richter scale. It's exponential. So like it's 11, 12, 13, 14. Like it gets increasingly more tension with every new click greater than 10. Why is that important? Here's why it's important. Because if it's true what I said earlier, that over 90% of what's going on for us is at that subconscious level, I'm not aware of it, there comes a point where we better really begin to look at what's there. And sometimes the way to do that is when we can become aware of we're feeling pressure, we're feeling tension. We might even not know what it is, but maybe we're frustrated, we're agitated, we're grumpy, we're short, or whatever it means for you. Maybe you're procrastinating a lot, maybe you're avoiding a lot, maybe you're not making decisions, or whatever it is. There's something, and all of a sudden something's going on, and if you're feeling that, the greater the intensity you're feeling that, the greater that your subconscious is trying to tell you, hey, pay attention to this. There's something that's going on here. I'm not okay with this. I need some resolution. I need to make some adjustments. So when this is happening, here's what happens. On the D, if you're adapting down 11 points, the way this test is designed on is it's saying that you are being less aggressive in solving problems and making decisions than you naturally would like to be. It's picking up on something. So it's 10, so it's observable, but it's not too much above 10, so it's maybe not really, really intense, but there's something that's like, you're maybe hesitant a little bit, or maybe you're just not being as aggressive in making decisions as natural. If you were adapting up, which you're not, but if you were, it would just simply mean, as in your current situation, you have this perception that you need to be more decisive than you are naturally wanting to be. Okay. In the I, let me say this first of all about the D. If the greater that is adapting down, 11 is observable. It's something to pay attention to. When this gets to 20, that number 20, it's like bells and whistles, like hello, hello, hello. Pay attention because there will be a correction. There will be a correction at 20, meaning that correction can be identified and you can, from a place of awareness and intentionality, make decisions to make the correction, I'm going to say easier necessarily, but more methodical, safer, with less fallout damage. Or if you don't do it, what this is suggesting is there will come a correction, and it may be a blowout, it may be a burnout, it may be a health problem, it may be a relational blowout. But what this is saying is we are not designed to operate over a long period of time with a level of stress and pressure that this test is picking up as more than 20 points. So if there's more than 20, there's some real work to do to find out what is that and how can I change what I'm thinking, what I'm doing to address it, because there will come a correction. And I would rather have it be intentional and manageable and methodical and all than I would have a blowout, blow up, health problem, health issue, So this test says over 20. Hello, be aware. And that's important because even I look here down on the eye is 33 points. That's more than 20. So that's hello, hello. There's an issue. So in this case, that's weighed a little bit or influenced a little bit because the 99 was so high. Remember I said it's the strength to an extreme. It could be a weakness. So it actually would be really healthy for you to adapt down somewhere maybe in the high 70s, low 80s. But even that, you're adapting down 33 points. What this test picks up on, for some reason, it's just the way it's designed, adapting down with your eye means you feel like you need to show up a little less trusting of people than you would at natural. A little less optimistic about things than you maybe naturally are. Okay? And vice versa, if it was adapting up, which you're not, but if it was, it means you feel like you need to be showing up more trusting or more optimistic than you naturally are. And so that's something to explore a little bit, and we can certainly do that one-on-one. We're not going to take the time to explore that right now. You can do it with your printouts as you go through and process, answer some of the questions. But that is an area for concern. Now, when you have more than one of these areas that are 20 or more, it's pretty serious. Like, put the brakes on, pull the emergency brake. I mean, at least long enough to take a look at what's going on, okay? Because let's look at S, pace. You naturally are an 88, which is, go to page 9, you can see it's thoughtful, it's methodical, it's thorough, it's slower, it's, you want to, your preference is to have a pace that's not lightning speed. Adapting down to a 17, whatever that is, what is it, 61? That's it. That's 3 times of what this test says. Hey, there's a correction coming. So, if as I was reading this, you're adapting down 61 points in your pace, meaning you feel like you're moving much faster. There's a lot more coming at you. Things are happening quick. Decisions are happening quick. You're not able to be as thoughtful or maybe as thorough, or you're not as able to really process things. This is some of the language that comes up. And that creates a lot of stress. Now, some of this you may not be aware of because it's subconscious, but at 61, you're aware of it. There's a feeling. In fact, Don, am I starting to hit it? Sort of. Maybe some of how you're feeling. In the chat bar, if you can let me know if any of this is resonating with you. I'm not sure if you hear me, Don. Oh well. Yes, exclamation point. Okay, all right, just checking. And so that's something that is like, wow. there's adjustment there that can be identified and managed intentionally, or when you've got more than one area over 20 and one with 61, um, that's something that we want to look at. Okay, and that's good. C measures your preference for procedures. You're feeling it, yeah, yeah. So maybe that's something we can schedule some time around if you want to do that, or at least thoughtfully. That's something that we would take a lot of time and look at in something like a respond to, Don. If that's still on the table or an opportunity or at all possible for you, I just really recommend you get in there, because we look at that in depth over time to make those adjustments, manage that intentional tracking. In this case, you're adapting up to a 28. And I'm actually going to say this is actually probably really healthy, Don. The fact that you're as low as you can go, remember I said adapt up, you're adapting up 18 points but to a 28. I'm going to say that's probably actually not causing you very much stress. It's actually helping you, because coming from so low and by the way, I'm a 10C naturally too. Wow. So, yeah, okay. So that's behavior. That shows how. And Ray, I'm not jumping on yours. We've gone through it. We can certainly go through it again or deeper. Certainly, if you have specific questions toward the end of our time, Ray, I'd like you to have a space to do that. But let's look at the motivators. Okay. This is so valuable, because motivators are the why for the behavior. The disc measures the how you're behaving, and it's how you're choosing to behave to get these needs or these values met. So it's really an important piece of understanding. And so what this is suggesting, and it has 7 different motivators, 7 key motivators or values, meaning that you are not going to be okay if these aren't met. And vice versa, you're going to be at peace and at a high peak performance when these motivators are being met. And these also don't change a lot over time. They really are part of your wiring, and gets deep into this whole subconscious thinking and programming and life experience and all that. But these are going to be really consistent. They may fluctuate a little in different roles or different stressors, but really they're pretty consistent. Okay. And oftentimes I have on this whole thing, people say, well, was that good? Was that bad? Or was that right? Or was that wrong? And I really caution you, do not look at this as if, is it good or bad or right or wrong? It just is what it is. The important thing is that you're able to say, wow, this is this is a snapshot of what's going on, and this is what's going on. And what am I going to do with that now is probably a more important question. Is it getting me the results I want? Is it not? What are the cost benefits of this? And what do I want to do about it? That's the more valuable way of using the data. Okay. So what this is showing for you, Don, aesthetic picks up on, it does pick up on art and appreciation for form and that, but really it picks up on whether or not you are comfortable with conflict. Okay, you have a very low aesthetic, so the box is kind of the average, if you will, range, and the norm is like the mean, right on the norm of all of the people who have taken this test up to the point where this I think they continue to feed this, so it's probably got several million people now. So these are averages and norms. The fact that you're a low too, it's not good or bad, it just is. And what that basically says to me is you're okay with conflict. You don't really think a ton about conflict. Now you might a little, because your highest motivator is altruism or people. And so and your I is really high. Yep, yeah. Your I is really high. So you really do think about people and care about people, want to make a difference for people. That is your number one motivator. And but you're okay to have conflict because you see that probably as being a helpful part of helping people. And so the higher the aesthetic is, the more people are uncomfortable with conflict. And so if I have a high, let's see, here's what this means. If I have a really high aesthetic, means I'll avoid conflict. I'll avoid maybe giving feedback that can cause conflict. I can avoid making decisions if I have a perception that it will create conflict. So this is the value of what this test shows. For you, that's not an issue. Okay, the economic. Obviously, you hear the word economic and you think money, and it does relate to money, but it's more than that. It really is. Like it says. You may try to help meet customers' needs, internal and external, before you own. That's not that helpful information, I don't think. What is helpful here is it's return on investment is really what this measures. That if I'm going to invest my time and energy, then I want to be rewarded for it, and I want it to make a difference. I want a return on investment. Individualistic was your third highest, so that's and it's above the average, above the normal, meaning individualistic means that you don't have any problem taking your own rights, the buck stops with me. You don't have a problem. You like yourself, most likely. You like your thoughts and how you go about things, your ways. You're good with them. You like to contribute to how decisions are made. You like to bring your perspective to the bigger whole so that it can be weighed and considered as a part of solutions and action items, and there's a sense of confidence there that you can get it done. Political is that sense of influence and control and leadership. Really, the political really measures that natural innate leadership gifting, and that's your second highest, 83. It's very high. Don, clearly by this, you're okay with making the decision. You're okay with leading. In fact, you want to. Leadership probably tends to fall to you over the years. People look like Don knows what to do. What are we going to do? And you'll have an idea. He's laughing. Yeah, you have an idea of what to do. You feel good about it, and you'll lead. And so you actually have a value, a motivator for that, and you're going to show up in situations expecting to lead, expecting to control. And I don't mean control in a bad way. I mean make decisions and have influence. You want it to matter. This is another part of this political thing. It isn't Republican, Democrat. It's I want what I'm doing, what our team is doing, our church is doing, our organization, I want it to matter. I want it to have influence and impact. Does that sound familiar, Don? Altruism, yes, exclamation point, yeah. Altruism, again, that's the people. You are very concerned with people. You have a high empathy for others, and that's simply what that means. Regulatory, you are slightly above average, which means you do recognize protocols, procedures, even though you were very low on the 10 in behavior. What this is suggesting is that there is part of you that's motivated and appreciates clear structure, clear procedures, clear systems. This picks up on there's a right way to do things and there's the wrong ways of doing things. So I'm looking at this thinking Don probably likes to find the right way to do things, if I was guessing. And then theoretical is really your drive for understanding, for knowledge, for learning, for growing. And you're right in the average range, just slightly below the norm line. So you've got a balance. You're able to balance learning and knowledge with practical needs in the situations. You have one in the normal box. How wonderfully you're made, right? We have our unique fingerprints. Oh, that's so good. Okay, and this becomes important because this is really the needs that we have, that if we meet them, we have a great sense of peace and peak performance. So this becomes a really good tool in dialing in, you know, your role that you're in. Is the current role you're in meeting these values, these motivators, or not? And if they aren't, what could be different so that you could actually be more decisive, have more influence, have your thoughts heard more, impact people at a higher level, discover, you know, right ways, better ways, that kind of a thing. And there's tweaks that can happen that way. Okay, I know I'm just dumping it out there. Let me give a brief look at this dimensional balance, and then I want to take questions and dial this in. First of all, let me point out up here, and I don't know if you can see this, me circling, but in the right top corner there's some decimal point numbers. This is an accuracy reading on the test, viability reading on the test. Okay, so this left number here, 0.96, means on your externals, this was a 96% validity. It's very accurate. You did this test at a very high level, some of the highest numbers I've seen, honestly. As long as it's above a 0.7, the test is considered, the profile is considered viable. If it's below 7, there's something that was incongruent. It picked up on something that happened, and it really needs to be taken over, honestly. 0.94 is the internal score. So again, that's extremely high. So this is showing that, you know what, this was a pretty good read on you. Okay. The short version of this for understanding, the dimensional balance measures how you think when you make decisions. This measures your decision-making process. Okay? And it measures it in 3 distinct ways. It measures, like, if I was to throw a problem on you, Don or Ray, I throw a problem on you, and immediately you've got to solve it immediately. Your natural way of solving a problem that is going to happen in this order and with this amount of bandwidth. Meaning this, externally, the top 3 lines, if a problem is thrown on Don, this is Don's test, there's 3 things this measures. Empathy is really around the whole people side of things. How's this affecting people? Who's involved with people? And the higher the number, the more developed your bandwidth of thinking around this is. So at 8.3, that's very high. So Don, you're actually very developed in how you process when it comes to making decisions around people and how it's going to affect people. Okay. The second measurement bar graph is practical thinking. This is problem solving, practical solutions, and results. Get it done. So you're also at an 8.3 in that area. So not only are you processing, okay, make a decision, solve a problem, you're processing the people element of it, and you're also seeing and aware and processing the practical side of things. What needs to get done? What's the order to do it? How do I get results? The third area externally is systems judgment. That's a 9.3. That's very high. And that is the 30,000 foot view. It's the strategy. It's the big picture. How do all of the pieces of what's going on really, you know, interact with one another? How is this affecting the whole? You are very developed. You have a wide bandwidth. You see a lot of awareness around the big picture of things. Okay, so those, if you're on a team, those are really important to know, because that's how you're going to bring value to the team. The first thing the biggest number is also the order of thought. So the first thing you're going to tend to start to process when you're making a decision to solve a problem is the big picture. You're gonna see all the things that are affected by this, and all the things that need to be considered, and all, you know, the possible. That's going to be the first and most developed way of thinking. And then people are going to be right behind that, and solutions are going to be right behind that. Okay? Externally, how you see the world outside of you. The internal are the bottom 3, and it's the same areas of bandwidth, but only this time it's how it's focused on you. So, how you feel about yourself, self-esteem, self-belief, the heart part of it. This is at an 8.3 and a plus. So that you have a strong sense of appreciation and value and confidence in yourself. Okay. Role awareness is that same, the practical thinking, the results, the problem solving, how you see and feel about yourself in being able to do that. 8.8, very high. So there's a strong confidence there that, you know what, I know what to do, I can get it done. And that happens to be your biggest one. So that's probably the first thing, again, it's order. The first thing you think about internally when you think about yourself in solving a problem is, what I know what to do, I have solutions. Those are going to be probably first and biggest and deepest internally. Self-direction, and it simply means the big picture of your life as you think about yourself, how much of the overall direction and how all of the pieces, the 30,000 foot view of internally in your life is, and again, that's 7.9, so it's very high. Okay, so this shows your strengths. It shows some weaknesses. There's the pluses and minus all mean something, which let's see. I don't have time to get into that. That's something that we can get into more if you want something deeper. We get into that also and respond. But they do mean something that are important both externally and internally. Okay. Inside of the rest of this, 71 pages, there's really good information. And I encourage you to get, if you want the max value out of this tool, is take the time and spend with it, over a period of time. Spend with this, think it through, contemplate it, because it will give you insights on how to communicate, how to learn, how to teach, how to stay motivated, what you need to work on. I mean, it's right there. It's a wonderful tool. I will point you in. It'll take forever in this software to get there, so I'm not going to go there. But if you go all the way to the end of your report, page 71, all the way to the end, you'll see subconscious areas of thought and how developed each of them are in relation to one another. And you'll start with the most developed ways of thinking in the numbers there. So these are the things that you're strong at and you have a broad awareness of, and it'll go down from there all the way in both columns till finally in the bottom of the right second column are those things that are most, I should say it this way, are least developed areas for growth. Okay, and combination of looking at that with the rest of the pages can really give you some concrete steps toward making some changes and being more effective. Okay, I just threw a ton of stuff at you, and so I want to take some time now to answer questions either about the tool or about your own specific situation. Yeah, it's a lot of info. Yeah, so take the time, chunk it down and process it. And so this is your, and what that shows to me, Don, is that 88 natural style on your S is saying, whoa, slow, that's a lot. I really need to understand this thoroughly. I really want, and that's fine. That's how you're wired up. So, the time you take, or time with, let's see, low C got a quarter way through. Yeah. What questions, Ray or Don, do you have about either the tool or your situation, how to use this moving forward? Have you got any questions? Ray doesn't? Okay. I've shed light on that. On what, Don? On the low C? Oh, okay, on how you can use the tool. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, Don, honestly, the big concerns that I would have, or I wouldn't even say concerns, the biggest priorities as a coach, talking with you, Don, if we were to look at this, is to just dig in a little bit deeper, like what's going on in your current situation where you feel like you're less optimistic and less trusting, and why things seem to be speeding up or coming at you very, very fast, and what sorts of stressors or pressures are showing up because of what this is saying. Um, are you're also being less decisive. So things are going faster, you're a little less trusting, you're a little less aggressive making decisions. So something, I would just dig in with you and say, well, let's talk. What's going on that would cause those sort of things? How's it working for you? Because, and this is an interesting point. It may hit you or not, but oftentimes when an S is adapting down that much, Don, there's a sense or a feeling that things are maybe out of control, or that you're not as in control. There's overwhelm. There's a sense of, oftentimes procrastinating happens here, and a sense of I'm not sure what to do, and the sense that just probably even maybe being tired or exhausted or wore out, and when the D is adapting down with the S, what that shows is that there's also possibly a feeling, okay, I'm remaining very functional, but things out of my area of influence are impacting hard. Yeah. Okay. So that might be part of what's going on. It sounds like it is. And being less decisive than you naturally want to be is actually brings with it a feeling of I don't have control, I don't have authority, I can't change it anyway. It can reveal some frustration of like, well, there's nothing I can do about that, or there you go. Yeah, right. And so then dialing that in, the important thing is you have two areas, more than 20. One is 60. So it's time to dig in, and my decisions don't count. Yeah, that's what that feels like. And so, in working deeper with this, is how can we help Don be more decisive? You say, well, my decisions don't count. Well, maybe, but maybe certain decisions don't count, but other decisions could count very much. And how is it that you can? Here's what happens when it's an interesting thing, when we're more and more decisive, it actually can make our world slow down. Even if I'm making a lot of decisions and I have a lot of things going on, it's when I don't make decisions and I kind of stuff them, or I delay them, or I procrastinate, or I just avoid them, that actually is just that time bomb, that pressure that's, pressure. It's subconscious, but it makes me feel like things are really going fast. Where the more decisive I can be, it actually can let that air out and deal with some of those things. And it actually, even though I might be actually doing more or being more decisive, it actually feels like I'm gaining more control of things. I'm making decisions here, and things are actually starting to slow down because that pressure isn't there of unfinished, incomplete, uncertain things. That pressure's not there from that. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's helpful. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice, having a conversation around that is easier than a couple words on a text. But yeah, I would encourage you, Don, to dig in there, whether that's with me or somebody else, or because those are big numbers, and it's just not sustainable. You can keep going for a while, but it does take a toll. So, any other questions or comments? How about Ray? Would you be willing to type just briefly about a way or two that this tool has been helpful to you? Like when you took it, I remember going through it with you. You really use it to make some decisions and move some things. How have you found the information you gleaned from this tool to be effective, and how are you using it? Would you be willing to share briefly with us? And I know it's typing. Well, Don, have you got, there's Ray. It's nudge you toward changes in the way you relate to the job and envisioning significant career transitions. Okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, Ray, how helpful have you found this tool? 1 being not at all, 10 being very, very helpful. Just curious, how helpful have you found understanding not just your behavior but your motivators and how you make decisions? Seven, quite complex. This one has reminded you that you still need to take time with you to process this. Yeah, and it encouraged you. Good. Yeah, there's a lot of data here, and I look forward to doing that with you. All right, last call. Don, any specific questions? Ray, any specific questions or comments? Yeah, okay, Don. It reveals the level of threat you're under that you was not remotely aware of. Yeah. It's an amazing thing how, we're designed and how that subconscious underneath the awareness, how much is going on there and how much it really affects us. And it really underscores really the value, I think, of this tool and of leaders, right, to grow in self-awareness and authenticity, like to really know, okay, these are the threats that are present right now, not right or wrong or good or bad, but this is what's present. Then how do I become more authentic? How do I integrate now what I now know with what I believe and how I'm going to speak and how I'm going to act, and how do I navigate that to, right? One way to look at it is to relieve the pressure. Another way to look at it is to be more effective, operate more toward peak. Listen, the truth is, the closer you operate to your natural style, the more at peace you're gonna be. That's a big deal, right? The more you're able to have these motivators, those deep values and motivators that you have met, the more you're helping people and impacting people and making a difference and influencing things and leading and bringing your own uniqueness and individual giftings and skills and abilities to the enterprises you're engaged in, and the more clarity you have around procedures and your learning, you are going to be more and more at peace, more and more at peak, more and more like, I mean, and honestly, Don, when I look at this this third page here, these numbers are high. You have a very developed awareness of both people, practical, and big picture, externally and internally, and that is really valuable. Doesn't make you better necessarily than anybody. It's not about that, but it just shows that there's a lot of resource that you bring to whatever team that you're going to invest yourself into. And And if you're not able to bring that, there's probably going to be some frustration and baggage and pressure internally, and I think that's what the numbers are picking up on that disc. Okay. All right. Yeah, for sure. The gift must get used for real. You're designed that way. So it has been a privilege. Sorry for the late start. Thank you for hanging in there through the download. And again, I'm here if you'd like to spend any more time looking at this and gleaning. And I just wish you both the best. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.